What's the United States government's number one job for us? What's the number one job?
Make the money safe. Keep us safe.
Keep us safe. That's exactly right. The safety of the United States is the U.S. government's number one job. Now let me ask you this. How many of you actually feel safe today? Yeah, probably. Okay, there's a few of you that feel safe. I can tell you, I know we're having a hard time keeping our own officers safe. Right? There's a war on us. The last officer we lost was ordering a jack-in-the-box, and a suspect walked up behind him, put one round in the back of his head. Okay, we just had a CHP officer killed on the 15 doing a traffic stop, and this guy jumps out and opens up on him with a rifle. There is a war not just on law enforcement, but on what our way of life is. Okay, safety in our neighborhoods. How many of you feel you could just go down and walk anytime you want on the street anywhere in this valley? Probably not. Oh, well, Steve, I know there's areas that I wouldn't do it. Okay, our safety in our country is a huge, huge challenge. The thing is, we're being asked to constantly back up on some of our liberties for safety. Okay, we're being asked to forfeit liberties to get safety, and safety in the biggest part is an illusion. It really is an illusion. Okay, we can feel safe or not feel safe. We say the United States is the most free. When we were in Europe, there's countries over there that don't have the civil rights we do. They don't have the constitutional rights. But my wife and I actually felt safer over there. Okay? But the laws were very, very, very strict, especially the Germanic laws. We came here, we felt a little less safer. So how many of you, we got lock our doors, right? We buy stuff all the time trying to stop thievery and theft. Probably for your businesses too. Security cameras and whatnot, okay? And I know I've responded as the deputy to several of those calls. So if government is supposed to be our safest thing, one of the things is I would like to see our government not so much make a whole bunch of new rules, because every time we write new laws, we're encroaching more and more on liberty. That's just the way it is. But there's a lot of laws that are on the books that are not being enforced. And if we can start enforcing what's already on the books, everyone's going to start feeling safer, because some of the stuff that's happening will get dealt with the way it was meant to be. So for me, I want to basically protect the Constitution, okay? And in that, protect the liberties of each and every person here. Not just like, okay, I want to protect the Constitution, but when we talk about like the red flag laws, right? How many of you have seen all this stuff with red flag laws? Anybody? Right. It is a conversation that we're having in this country right now. Why are we having them? Because we have people that are grabbing a weapon and they're going out and doing random mass homicides. That needs to stop, right? I worry about my kids, my wife. They're going to go to the store. Someone goes in there and starts shooting them up. It's a concern. It's a legitimate concern. So how do we stop that? How do we constitutionally address this phenomenon that's occurring, this trend, if you would, that's occurring in our country? And those are things that we need to wrestle with. Personally, I'm against the red flag laws because they violate the Constitution of the United States. They violate the 14th Amendment with due process. Okay? They violate the search and seizure laws. They violate the Second Amendment because they only focus on the weapon. If somebody is a threat, okay, if I say that person's a threat, so if Trevor's the threat and all I do is go and take a gun away from him and I leave him in play in the community, I have not reduced the threat. I have just changed what the threat's going to look like when it's executed. Okay? He can use a knife. We've seen pressure cookers in the Boston Marathon. You just go to Home Depot. If you have half the mind I have, you can see there's a lot of ways to hurt people just in things that are sold at Home Depot. Okay? We have to deal with what the threat is, and the threat's the individual person, whether it's a mental health issue or not. And that's where we get into, if they haven't committed a crime, what legal standing do we have to arrest them, okay, or detain them? And these are some of the challenges that we've got to face. We can't just back up and say, oh, yeah, just come in and take people because somebody got offended and complained on them, and there's no due process. We can't allow that to happen. we should be smart enough, especially people in Congress, should be smart enough to figure out how to address this problem as we move forward, okay? So these are the things that I look at. My three big things, if you look on the things, family, faith, and service. The core issues, family's always been my big thing. The absolute collapse of the American family is dealing with some of the problems that we have. Some of the safety issues we have is because families are failing, they're collapsing. There's a stat that I use at work with Vita, 26% of American families, okay? 26% of all families are what we would call original biological nucleus families. That means both biological parents are still in the home. Only 26%. That means 74% of those families are something else, okay? It has an impact on how we raise children. It has an impact. Now, I'm not saying just because the family's blended or something else, they're going to be bad, but it's going to affect things throughout our communities, plain and simple. Faith. Our faith is where we get our morality. I don't care what faith you're from, okay, I don't. But all faiths, for the most part across this planet, include a way to behave that's morally sound, opposed to just no faith at all. One of the recent things that came out, it said atheism is the number one religion now in the United States. Okay? We are losing our morality, our ethics, our values as a country. Okay? As a country. So I'd love to see people get back in a resurgence of find your faith, whatever it is, get dedicated to it, and learn how to behave within a community that's very diverse. And we have one of the most diverse cities, one of the most diverse counties in the world right here, Los Angeles County. Last thing, service. I am very frustrated that we constantly keep looking to government to fix our problems. Constantly, okay? Everyone wants a new law. We want our elected people to do, legislate this, legislate that. We can't legislate morality. We can't legislate community service. We have to take ownership of our own communities. We have to take it back. We have to learn how to reach next door, reach over the fence, say, hi, I'm Mark, meet our neighbors, have neighborhood barbecues again, regardless of what each other's political affiliations are. We need to learn how to be friends again. We need to learn how to be family again, okay? And the reason I say that is because the things that are going on here, if we come together as a family, a community, regardless of political affiliation, a lot of this stuff will begin to dissipate. Okay, a lot of it will. Our families will get stronger. Our communities will get stronger. One of the things that we're doing different as a campaign, I'm trying to be innovative as I go through this stream, and there's a huge, peer pressure to just get in line, do the traditional chicka. You got to do this, you got to do that. There's a model that they want you to follow for congressional campaigns, but from the primary to the general election, the 5 months between June and November, the last campaign between Katie Hill and Steve Knight. Katie Hill had over $80, if you go to Ballotpedia, you can check these numbers, okay? Katie Hill spent over $8 million and Steve spent almost $2.5 million. $10.5 million spent in 5 months to get a seat that pays $174,000 that you have to reapply for in 2 years, okay? Every 2 years. Now, this campaign for this district is going to be $10 million plus if we keep at this. What does the community get behind that? What do we get? Right? What does the community get from? They spent $10 million to tell us how good they are, and what do we get? And all that campaign money comes from somebody's personal pocket, okay? Personal pocket. That's part of the tradition thing, right? Make your phone calls. Hey, I'm Mark Cripe. Can you support me? Blah, blah, blah. We're trying to get people to donate to our campaigns. But what does the voter get in return? What does the community get in return? So what my campaign's doing is we're trying something new. It's basically we're going to do a trash cleanup as a fundraiser. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. Now, it's funny how this works on the internet. People are like, rah, rah. So you're just going to clean up if we give you money. I'm going to tell you this right now. My team's going to do a cleanup regardless if we get a dime. Okay? That's what I committed to doing. That's what I'm doing. I've done a lot of them with Vita as community service projects where we take the kids out. We're going to do a cleanup. Plain and simple. Would I like to get donations? I would. I really would. What we're trying to do is the person that donates the highest amount gets to pick where we clean up. We're only going to do the cleanup in District 25. It's the fairest, right? That's where we're running for Congress. Don't want to go over there and clean Kevin's area up for him. just anyway. So that we're going to try something new. Instead of having a rubber chicken, fundraising dinner where we all dress up and rah, 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 we're going to actually go do a project that we think is going to help the community. At least we'll get some of the trash picked up. So if it's innovative, I think it's innovative. We've been told it's innovative. We're going to try doing that. But that's just one thing. Some of that stuff, you can follow us. We have on Facebook, it's Mark Cripe for Congress. MarkCripe.com is our website. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for all kinds of stuff, obviously looking for donations, yada, yada, yada. That said, I would like to spend a few moments. Do I have a few moments, Trevor?
You do.
I'd like to have a few moments and just do some question and answers with you. Hammer me. Trust me. I go home, I cry, my wife comforts me, and we go back out. But if I can't handle a little hammering, then I don't deserve to even be running for the spot. It's not going to be easy going up against Katie Hill. We know that. So bring it. Well, my biggest policies is going to be to champion enforcing existing policies. There's a lot of existing policies that are getting ignored. So the other thing with family, okay, like we talk about trying to improve people's family thing. There's a lot of community-based organizations and businesses in our district that does great work with families. The problem is they can't be competitive because they can't get funded, right? Congress passes a lot of money every year to fund a lot of these community-based organizations. Plain and simple, it's out there. But what makes our CBOs not competitive? Because they don't know how to actually do a federal grant package, right? There's a package. We've done them in the Sheriff's Department. There's a lot to them. You got to have everything all checked off, and it's got to get submitted in a timely manner in a certain format. So one of the things I told people, my number one thing one of the first things I'm going to do, you get money to hire staff as a congressperson. One of the things I'm going to do is hire a grant writer that is free and accessible to the community. They're not going to be writing grants for me. They're going to be writing grants. We're going to pay that salary. They're going to write grants for CBOs that can actually get access. So they're competitive. You know what I'm talking about. They can't be competitive because they're great mom and pop programs, but they're not competitive because they don't have the experience on how to submit a federal grant package. We're going to say, you know what, this is your job. Your job is simply do that. We don't have to make any new policy. We just make the money accessible to the community, just streamline that. If there needs to be new legislation, we'll look at that. We'll see how we can actually write that so it's constitutional and move forward. But we keep asking our politicians to write new legislation, and every time they do that, they're stealing more and more of our liberty. There's so many laws out there. I mean, I got CHP here. The first time they gave me a DMV vehicle code book, I realized I could pull a car over for just about anything. There's so many codes in there. It's like, oh my gosh, how do you there's no way to learn all those codes. I mean, I could actually have probable cause pull you off. As soon as you buy a brand new car and pull it off the road, pull it onto the highway, if you're smart enough, I got probable cause to stop you and make sure that you're not stealing it off the lot. Okay? That's how ridiculous our laws are. We have a lot of laws. We have a lot of policy. Let's implement what we got. Let's streamline some of the stuff so the people can get this funding. Accountability in some of that. There's already money Congress has written. There's millions and millions of dollars for the homeless already earmarked and setting in accounts that nobody's touching to use for our homeless. That's what Mayor Garcetti just got in trouble for. He was setting on over $200 million for the homeless. Money already earmarked, already paid for by the taxpayer, not getting to the homeless. It's the accountability of those funds. It's streamlining those existing funds to get to the people, okay? And some of that means there might have to be some investigations for fraud, plain and simple, because there is some fraud. Now, as far as making a business more effective, I don't think that's Congress's job, to be honest with you. I think there's people the business people within the community. I don't think Congress should be getting into how you run your business. Say, you're running your business dysfunctionally. We're going to come in and we're going to make it better for you. I don't think we want our businesses like that. Is that what you're asking? See, the federal thing, my thing would be to back up. restore some of the liberties that we're supposed to have. Every time we say, well, we want legislation for more safety or more security, inevitably we have to sacrifice liberty. And Benjamin Franklin had one of the greatest quotes, right? They who are willing to give up essential liberties for temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And that's, our mindset needs to kind of go back there, I think, especially as a government. We just can't keep growing government. Pretty soon the government's going to run everything. And I don't know about you, but I was in the Marine Corps. Government ran healthcare, it wasn't that good. I'm just saying, government ran chow lines. I mean, it fed us, but
Was it food?
yeah. We gave us nourishment.
Retirement plans are coming.
Yeah, exactly. That's another problem right there. We talk about Social Security, now the California states, So my thing isn't to, if we need to create a new policy, let's look at it and create it. But if we can streamline existing policy, if we can enforce existing law, I think we'll be way better off as individuals. The red flag thing, there's a lot of existing laws that just aren't getting enforced, and that's why these guys are getting guns and they're going out and shooting people. Okay, they're already wacko, and it's the individual's fault, right? That person's committing a crime. I don't know if you guys know this, at least in our state, if you have possession of a firearm and you tell me you have the intent to go do harm with it, I can arrest you for a felony right then and there. That is a felony, to be in possession of a gun with the intent to go commit a crime. We have a lot of good laws in the books. Let's enforce what we have and stop encroaching on everyone's liberty. Anyway, did I answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Got time for a couple more questions.
I just had a big debate with a lady. I want, and I think it's the Marine and the cop in me, okay? I'll tell you this, and I'm wrestling with policy behind this. I like borders, okay? I mean, we love to patrol a barrier, okay, opposed to just open field. You try to find someone in open field, the risk to us is way higher, okay? I like the idea of a border. Now, I get right now lowball costs for our border wall based off Cato Institute's numbers, okay? And I know Cato Institute tends to be a little more, they lean a little left, which is fine. But they said lowball is $13 million a mile is what that's going to cost us. $13 million a mile. And it doesn't include maintenance, doesn't include, okay? So they're saying to do the whole 2,000 miles, was that?
1 mile. Huh?
Yeah, 13 million a mile. Someone told me it was a foot, and I go, that sounds really high, but 13 mile a foot. So now what you do is you look at the 2,000 mile thing, they said they're looking at $59 billion. Okay, so $60 billion to build it. So Trump would have to tap that $5 billion thing 12 times, okay, to build the whole border wall at the Cato Institute's price. Now, everyone's saying, it might be a little bit more closer to 24.4 million per mile as we get going. So the wall is going to be super, super expensive either way. How much are we paying for things that go to illegal alien, helping the undocumented people that are coming in? I don't know. The number is so schematic, but it's to secure our southern border, regardless how you look at it, it's going to cost money, whether it's a fixed barrier or we do it with technology and patrols. We do it with patrols. You got man hours, you got equipment. And I know this, for us, you put a deputy sheriff in the field, it's expensive. Okay, it's expensive. We're expensive. You put military down there, you got constitutional issues, you put the National Guard down there. So it is a problem that we need to wrestle with. What's the actual fix? No one knows. Okay, but it's going to cost us regardless of what we do. The tariff idea was kind of slick. I thought that President Trump did, because it got Mexico to start spending their money to police some of that, right? To intervene in that. Mexico seized 26 bank accounts, U.S. bank accounts, and if you notice, the caravan slowed way down. Okay, so somebody inside our country is funding some of this, and a lot of people. The other thing is they don't know. They just a couple weeks ago we seized 1,000 people from the Congo. Okay, so it's not just South America coming up. I mean, when you start having 1,000 men from the Congo show up at your southern border, you got to start going, okay, what's going on? But so the idea is,
Not only from the Congo, from the Middle East.
Yeah. I want to put a barrier. I want to put a barrier there because I think it'll stop the drugs. Okay. And we know that the narcotics that we're getting in the streets right here is coming across that border. The lion's share of it, not all of it, the lion's share. The heroin, okay, and heroin's on the rise. In case you guys don't know that. And what they're doing is they're mixing fentanyl with the heroin and causing mass overdoses. The media's not covering that stuff, but it's happening. Okay.
90% coming through the border.
And you want to talk about the amount of fentanyl that's being captured at the border is enough to kill all of us if they dump that into one of our water tanks. Okay, it's sobering when you actually start looking at the real threat there. The sex trafficking coming across the border, 3 out of 10 kids they know are not of the family they say they're in. 3 out of 10. Okay, it's just a little under 30%. That's a high number. So I get the DNA thing. I get separating these families. Because we have children that are being sex trafficked. And some of the stories that are coming across the border that media won't tell you, we get because of law enforcement. I get an intelligence brief. I'm going to tell you they're horrendous. We had a 6-year-old girl that was found unconscious. They took her to the clinic. They realized that she had genitalia abrasions. They went and they did the sexual assault test, and they found 20 different samples of her, okay? This is what's going on down there. We are dealing with people that don't have the moral values that we do. They don't. Okay, and they will do anything to get into our country because we have a pretty freaking good country. Okay, I don't blame some of them, but some of the stuff. So the border has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. We can't just turn a blind eye and say, well, it worked so far. No, it hasn't. It's what's going on right now needs to stop. Adventure. Didn't you watch Up? We're going on an adventure.
We can't hear you.
Oh, so we wanted to go travel, but the catalyst was she got hired by the University of New Orleans to be the summer exchange student to the University of Innsbruck. So University of New Orleans paid for her airfare and paid for 6 weeks of her working in Innsbruck. Okay, so she went over. Then I went the week after. If you want to have a beer, I'll tell you some funny stories of, because I didn't speak any foreign language. And I'm like, how much? What? You know, I'm like, what? It was comical, but I made my way by myself. Anyway, so we stayed in Innsbruck for 6 weeks. I got to climb in the Alps all over. She had to go to work every day. It was really rough, and. Yeah. And then we started, once she was done with that, we traveled all over. And everyone says you got to go into Hungary. We went into Hungary, and I'm telling you, I don't know where you all stand politically, but there's a huge lie being sold that socialism is good, okay? I've been to a socialist country. I've yet to see in my 55 years of living any country that goes socialist to do better. They always do worse. It always collapses. And I can tell you right now, when we were in Hungary, it's phenomenally horrific. The way the people were living, it was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I want nothing to do with a socialist country or a socialist agenda. I will fight that to the day I die, whether I'm in office or not. That's probably me being a Marine. But I'm going to fight it. So thank you for your time.